2,000 sites that we have to buy for. So that's across stores, depots and head office sites. And the gas consumption is quite substantial too, and that's around 33 million therms for those of you who think in therms. Together, gas and electricity are quite a substantial cost. I can't share the exact cost with you, of course, commercially sensitive, but it's a lot. And the combined gas and electricity consumption in the UK accounts for over 60% of our carbon footprint. So what are we concerned about? What have we been concerned about? Where have we faced problems? Where have we faced problems now? Probably summarised down into three areas: rising costs, price volatility, and emissions. So taking the first one, rising costs. I'm sure everybody in the room is familiar with that. I'm not going to put up a chart of price history of electricity. I'm sure you're all well aware of where prices have gone. And it's been a concern for us in the past. And I think actually at the moment there's a bit of an illusion in the markets because prices in the UK have come down. And they've come down primarily due to the recession that we faced recently. But if you look at the underlying fundamentals there, if you look at just something as basic as oil price, and we've seen that creep up, and the oil price today is, I haven't looked at it this morning, but it's been at $80 a barrel briefly. And yet the reality is that prices, that they're not going to go down any further, I don't think. And that's obviously an issue for us and any buyer within any industry. Price volatility. Price volatility, prices going up and down. The day-to-day peaks and troughs, spikes, month-to-month peaks and troughs, year-to-year increases and decreases in the price of energy makes it very, very difficult to manage your business. And we face that. It's very difficult to plan your whole business if you don't know what your energy cost is going to be from day to day or week to week, month to month or year to year. And then finally, emissions. Again, you're all familiar with the issues on emissions and the challenges. And of course, emissions now is a very, very real, very significant focus for pretty much all large businesses globally. So what are we doing about it? Okay. I don't want you to take this as a one-for-one, here's the problem, here's the solution. The reality is the things that you see on the right-hand side, to some extent, address all of the issues on the left-hand side. It's already been said, it'll be said again, energy efficiency surely has to be the number one thing to address above all else. It makes sense. It's certainly one of the things that we've attacked in our business for several years now. And to do that, I'm not going to go into the whole programme of what we've done, what we've installed where and so on. There's quite a lot of, there's an awfully large programme. But what we do is we set ourselves very tough targets, very hard targets for the long run, and very hard targets year on year. And we work hard to meet those targets. And we're constantly looking for things, for new and innovative ways to reduce the consumption of our fridges, of our lighting, of our heating, ventilation controls and so on. Risk management. We do practice risk management. and I would recommend it to anybody who's not already doing it. There's a presentation later on risk management, so again, I'm not going to go into the details of it. Probably the only thing I'll say around risk management, if you are a buyer in the room, or if you're a third-party intermediary advising on that, I think the number one thing to get right with risk management is setting the expectations with your senior management in the organisation, being very, very clear and try to articulate it in as simple a way as possible. And once you've done that, once you have a risk management policy, stick to that policy and manage it very, very closely because things move very quickly. And then another element that we're increasingly getting into is self-generation. So we're installing CHP units, some gas CHP, some biofuel CHP. We'll have some biomass plants. We have some wind turbines of various scales, and we'll be looking to get into that on a larger scale as we move forward. And we actually see it as a very as a key way in which we eventually will make up any kind of gap between what we're consuming and our very hard target, which is to go to zero carbon by 2050. And renewables clearly has to be part of that. And the way that we want to do it is a way we can stand behind it by investing our own money and proving to ourselves and to everybody else that we are actually making a difference. So, what about the future? So what are the concerns for the future? Well, that's probably quite predictable. So it's all of the same things. The drivers of these particular issues are quite complex. Obviously, there's not time to go into a deep analysis of all the different elements, all the different issues. However, if we look at the kind of causes and effects and what's been done so far, we've already covered some of the government responses to this. We start with rising CO2 levels that we need to do something about. And that could potentially lead to damaging climate change, which we need to address. And then we have a double whammy on energy security that we're coming up to. So, demonstrated in part by the chart at the top left there, it's kind of very small. Essentially, the blue area there is existing electricity power plants in the UK. The green area above it is consented plant that's being built. The yellow band is consented plant. The big red thing on the top is plant that's been announced in some way that there's no consent for. And the yellow lines that move through it across the blue line somewhere around 2014 or so. That's predicted demand for electricity. So there's this plant that's coming off. I'm sure you'll kind of know about the large combustion plant directive and the impact on closing down coal plants, and also around the nuclear plant that's due for decommissioning in the same time scale, and the potential tightening of the supply and demand balance that might well create. But what this doesn't show actually is that a big section, a third, possibly slightly more of the blue section, is made up by gas-fired generation. And of course, as you're all aware, gas from North Sea gas, UK continental shelf gas, is diminishing. We're becoming increasingly reliant on imports of various kinds. And this is something that's been brought up as a potential issue for the future by government's advisors for some time now. So we have this issue of energy security and the capacity crunch. And there are a number of policies and so on in place which aim to try and address these. And some of them try to kill two birds with one stone, so to an extent the renewable policies and so on address both security and they address carbon issues as well, carbon targets as well. We talked about some of them earlier. Low carbon transition plan, UK renewable strategy obviously is a subset of that plan. And we've had Ofgem's project discovery proposals, which of course are being consulted on and are not yet policy as such, but these proposals all try and address these things. And then we look at it from a consumer point of view. And the reality is, whether these policies are successful or not, one thing that we can be certain of is that they lead to rising prices for all of us, which is obviously a concern. Now, what I'd like to do is just to explain to you kind of how we view this issue into the future. So it's not just about the electricity bill. And I'd encourage you to do it in your own organisations to work out what the impacts are going to be for you. So yes, it impacts on your energy costs. But from a Tesco point of view, so well, okay, if there's a rise in energy costs, it impacts our suppliers. And so it impacts the goods that we buy for sale to our customers. And our suppliers supply to our competitors who sell to their customers, sometimes our customers. I'm sure there's some the same. So there's always there's an inflationary impact, a general inflationary impact. But also on top of that, what about our customers? Their own energy costs go up. And so if a customer, if a household whose energy bill today is say £1,000, their energy bill goes up by 20%. That's £200 that they're spending on energy that they can't then spend on the high street or elsewhere. And actually, in most businesses, certainly from a retail point of view, from our point of view, that's actually probably a bigger impact on our business in the long run than the direct impact on our electricity bill. And I'd encourage you to kind of think out of the box there, because certainly in terms of your business, you can raise the profile of energy by actually being an expert in the area of being able to point out these things, which are actually real strategic concerns for every business. So, a bit downbeat, a bit pessimistic maybe. Is it all doom? Well, I think it's very, very easy to descend into the mire and get very miserable about the prospects for the future. But I would urge you not to do that, not to succumb to that temptation, or if you already have, just to pull yourself out of it, because there are opportunities. The reality is, all of these policies and so on, it's very much about redistributing cash into various areas, increasing subsidies for renewable power, through renewable obligations, through feed-in tariffs. We just look to pull a few things that we've looked at we're doing already. Certainly, I've already talked about our investment in renewable generation. And the truth is, things like the feed-in tariffs and the renewable obligation enable us to do that. And without those things there, we wouldn't be able to invest in these things. We wouldn't be able to diversify our supply. So you've got to really look to find where there's other benefits there. And then cast the net wider. You know, for us, we see our customers want to reduce their carbon footprint. They tell us this. So this actually creates a commercial opportunity for us within the market. And it also creates a chance for us to build our relationships with our customers and to provide them with what they need. And actually, overall, if we're going to survive in the long run, that's what we need to do. And we need to look at it as an opportunity and not just look at the cost. And it's the same under CRC. Sure, we've had our criticisms with the CRC. I think there's a number of elements that we have some difficulty with. But overall, we're broadly supportive of the scheme. And we do recognise that performance in the scheme, certainly the intention of the scheme, is that high performance within the scheme will be beneficial for us and for those participants who do lower their emissions. So, to summarise, the challenges that we face tomorrow, rising prices, price volatility, and rising emissions, or tackling emissions at least. These are the same issues as we have today, just more so. And the fact is, they're not going to go away. The impact of them goes well beyond the energy bill, and it's of key strategic importance to a lot of businesses. And if you don't think that's the case for your business, I'd urge you to really look at it and think about the ways in which you can be affected. And if you do that, you may actually find some insight and ways in which you can benefit from the opportunities that this creates. And finally, don't wallow in it, don't take a teenager approach of saying, oh, it's just not fair, it's all going to go wrong. It's a nightmare. I would urge you to actually look very, very hard. And you have to work very, very hard. And you can overcome those challenges. And you can come out of the other side. And those that look hard and work hard and face the challenge are the ones that will prevail and will survive and prosper into the future.